Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the core ethics that help intentional communities and anarchist communes move from merely surviving to, well, truly flourishing. We're looking at a fascinating source document today that breaks down the philosophy of exactly how we live together. Now, if you're building a life shared with others, you already know it takes way more than just a roof, an overly complicated shore wheel, and, 3-hour consensus meetings to make things work. So let's look closely at what the text says actually sustains these spaces.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the heart of the commune.
So I want you to really ask yourself, what actually animates your daily interactions when the organizational charts, the schedules, and all those formal agreements inevitably fall short? Because let's face it, someone's going to sleep through their cooking shift. The washing machine is absolutely going to break down for the third time this month, and tensions will run high. When the rules on the whiteboard fail, what keeps the community from fracturing? Well, the source text argues it's an underlying ethic. The text points out that the answer actually lies in everyday practices. We're talking about rotating childcare, taking turns cooking, cleaning the common spaces, and voluntarily sharing labor without expecting a paycheck. Now, it's super easy to view these mundane chores as just a grind, but the source frames this totally differently. Doing the dishes when it isn't your turn? That builds trust. It's the invisible foundation of your survival and a real expression of true solidarity in action.
Which leads us to section 2, what is mutual aid?
Here is the formal definition provided by the text. Mutual aid is the voluntary, reciprocal exchange of resources and services for the benefit of all, not imposed by authority, but arising freely among equals. I really want to emphasize that last part. There is no boss here, no landlord dictating the terms. It is a choice made freely by the community, recognizing that everyone's well-being is completely tied together. To bring that heavy theory down to a simple, relatable example from the text, just think about friends pooling resources when one falls sick. There's no bureaucracy. No one has to fill out a requisition form in triplicate just to get help. Someone just drops off soup, someone else covers their childcare shift, and maybe another spots them for rent. It's a completely horizontal network of care.
The source material draws a really sharp line here between top-down charity and true reciprocity. The charity model is built on hierarchy. It assumes this dynamic of the quote-unquote strong helping the weak out of pity, which honestly just keeps the power imbalance completely intact. Mutual aid, on the other hand, dismantles that hierarchy. It replaces command and obedience with care and reciprocity, acknowledging that cooperation strengthens absolutely everyone in the circle.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit for section 3, the law of nature. The text introduces a concept called mutualist naturalism. Simply put, this is the recognition that solidarity, cooperation, and reciprocity aren't just nice social ideas. They are literal laws of nature. The author uses this to prove that your commune's way of living isn't some artificial utopian fantasy. It is a direct reflection of how biology itself evolves through interdependence. Take the symbiotic relationship between plants and pollinators. The flower relies on the bee to reproduce, right? And the bee relies on the flower for nectar. Neither is dominating the other. There's no boss in the meadow. They are engaged in a natural exchange of mutual aid that literally sustains the entire ecosystem. And we see this natural solidarity everywhere. The text lists wolves hunting in packs where collective effort ensures the survival of the group, rather than just the strongest individual. It also points to human food-sharing traditions. Connecting this back to your commune, when you all sit down to share a meal that was collectively prepared, you aren't just saving time or money, you are practicing a deeply rooted evolutionary strength.
Which brings us to section 4, debunking the alpha myth.
Here, the source sharply contrasts two fundamentally different worldviews. First is what the text identifies as the capitalist myth. The idea that fierce competition and individual profit are the ultimate engines of progress. The text contrasts this with the mutualist reality, the evidence that both human societies and ecological systems actually rely on cooperation to survive. The author explains that hierarchical systems basically normalize exploitation, whereas mutual aid proves cooperation is our true advantage. To further this point, the text dismantles how we talk about animals. It uses the academic phrase anthropocentric projections, and that really just means we take human hierarchical ideas like kings, bosses, and command structures, and we incorrectly force them onto the natural world. Ideas like the king of beasts or the alpha male are just human myths projected onto animals. As the text outlines, nature doesn't organize by dictatorship, it organizes by diversity, reciprocity, and balance. And that brings us to Section 5, Flourishing Together. This is a vital takeaway from the text. Unity in diversity ensures resilience. In a commune, this reminds us that we are not isolated individuals, forced to do everything alone. When burdens are shared, they literally become lighter. If one person is great at fixing the plumbing and another is great at growing tomatoes, those diverse skills shouldn't be standardized. When they are celebrated, the community becomes incredibly resilient against outside pressures. The crucial point is summarized in this incredibly powerful quote directly from the source text. To deny mutual aid is to deny both our humanity and our natural being. What that means is that stepping up to wash the dishes, sharing your resources, and looking out for your neighbors isn't just a nice charitable thing to do. It is fundamentally who we are as a species.
So, I want to end today's explainer with a provocative question for you to take back to your own spaces. How can we replace our own remaining command structures with care and reciprocity? Really look at how your community operates. Are there places where you're still subconsciously relying on authority, punishment, or competition? How might you swap those out for genuine solidarity? I hope unpacking this source material has given you some great tools to build a culture where absolutely everyone flourishes. Thanks for following along.